And Mega World, this is for Radiohead. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Late Night Interview. I'm your host, Max Asanovic, and this evening I'm delighted to be bringing you a series of 3 interviews from our very own Radiohead. One would seriously have to doubt that when Tom York, Johnny Greenwood, Colin Greenwood, Ed O'Brien and Phil Selway got together back in the early 90s in Oxford, whether any of them, no matter how confident they were in their ability, could have possibly envisaged achieving the worldwide acclaim that they undoubtedly have done. A friend of mine, whose opinion on music I thoroughly respect, phoned me a couple of weeks ago and explained to me in a state of almost intoxicated excitement that OK Computer, the band's latest release, was the greatest rock album he'd ever heard. In fact, even the normally fairly reserved Guardian newspaper referred to OK Computer as the most important album of the year. High praise indeed, and certainly a long way since the music press virtually wrote off Radiohead after the release of their debut album, Pablo Honey. This album, of course, was brought to our attention by the phenomenal breakthrough single Creep, which strangely the band have since publicly denounced. I think that's a shame because it's a great record. However, after the mauling by the media, Radiohead gigged relentlessly and, after heading back into the studio, released their second album, The Bends. The album was the classic slow burner, and as a number of singles peeled off, including Fake Plastic Trees and the almost impossibly good High and Dry, which I personally felt was the single release of 1995, the album stubbornly refused to budge from the top 10. It's since sold millions of copies all around the world and brought the band legions of new admirers. Whatever happens in the Radiohead tale from here on out, in The Bends, they have crafted one of the definitive albums of the decade. Following on from that must have been a daunting task indeed, but a couple of months after the release of a new single, Paranoid Android, which went into number 3 in the British charts, they bought out OK Computer and the plaudits have simply not stopped rolling in. Although Tom York would undoubtedly be the first to disagree, one of the centerpieces of Radiohead's music are his incredible and distinctive lyrics that resonate perfectly with the sound that this compelling fivesome produce. In our first interview segment tonight, let's hear from Tom York, firstly about their contribution to the Help compilation album, which was devised to raising awareness and funds to the War Child charity that caters for children who are caught up in the appalling conflict in Bosnia. The album also included contributions from just about every notable act on the British music scene. Oasis, Blur, Pulp, the Chemical Brothers and many others were involved. It was a brilliant album, and here Tom talks about their contribution to that and gives us some personal insights into life in Radiohead.
Matter of fact, it's just Tom York, vocalist and guitarist from Radiohead. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
How you doing?
Okay.
Current album, The Bends from Radiohead. It's great. It's an awesome record. And do you want to start off the show with something from that or a new song?
No, I'll start with the last song on the album.
That's Tom York from Radiohead and Street Spirit. That's the final song on the Bends album, and that's actually a single that's out in Europe right now with some really great B-sides on it too. So
yeah, the B-sides, we're really proud of those actually.
I love song number 3. Ooh,
yeah,
good song. Actually, aside from the Bends, Tom, which has been out for about the last year, you guys also made a contribution to an album that came out called Help. The song was called Lucky. For everybody that doesn't know about it, tell us a little bit about the album Help, what the charity was for, and maybe you can play the song for us too.
At the time when it first happened, it was a few bands wanted to, in that awful way, you know, sort of do some sort of gesture and make a record for the thing that was going on in Bosnia, because it seemed that the sort of general apathy had prevailed every section of society and no one really gave a damn. But then someone hit upon the idea of recording all the bands going to the studio on the same day, recording on the same day, and then have the record out by the end of the week, which is from an old John Lennon quote. So that got everyone excited, and all these bands wanted to do it, and so on and so on. It ended up being for the War Child charity, which was specifically for, you know, the children that had been affected and lost their families and so on. We had one particular song called Lucky that we had kicking around anyway, so we decided we were going to put it on this record, because it was a chance for us to record it anyway. And most people either were doing covers or written songs specifically for it. They did actually manage it. We turned it around the whole week. We all went in on the same day, and by the end of that week, the album was out.
That must have been fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
Really cool.
But on the day of doing it, because obviously we had to publicise it, we sort of said, okay, yeah, a few TV crews can come along to the studio, you know, And so we spent the first 5 hours doing interviews, thinking we got to do this song at some point.
Oh, we're here to do a song, aren't we?
It's a pleasure to be here.
No, I think you're just saying that. No, I love your record, The Bends. You know what else is kind of actually really cool about the whole thing? Every video you guys have put out from it is so great. I'll bet you hear that a lot, don't you? You're sick of hearing that.
I'm fine with it, actually, you know, because we went from being the band that absolutely hated videos to being really, really into the idea.
Do you get really involved with it as far as
well,
what
no,
you want?
actually. I mean, only in the sense that I'm actually the one who calls the director and stuff. I mean, it's a really weird system. Within the music industry. You know, most artists have people that just go out and find them video directors and do all the work. Whereas the person that we work with is a very close friend of ours, and we said to her a while ago that we wanted to work with people who would, you know, sort of would not normally work in that field. After we worked with Jake Scott on the first on Fake Plastic Trees. We sort of got off on that, but the thing that we sort of resented was the fact that we had to pay so much money, and like he was so experienced, and it was sort of very intimidating. So we wanted to sort of basically work with people who hadn't really done much before. Like the guy from Just hadn't done any pop videos at all. He'd made this really beautiful short film that we saw.
And he works for pizza or...
Well, I mean, he just left film school, so, you know, he was
it's a great video. As far as the end of it, where it's left open-ended, what that guy said, will you ever tell?
No, I mean, it's sworn secret. I mean, part of the whole point of the video idea was that we would retain this secret forever, which was great, which obviously we thought was a wonderful idea.
Well, also the video for High and Dry, that was...
I was really into
great too.
Because we reshot that one. We were very unhappy with the first one. And the second one was actually, I mean, the amount of involvement we had in that again was very minimal. You know, in fact, I remember the first thing we ever said once we'd chosen who we were going to do it with, Paul Cunningham. We said, actually, we don't want to really be in the video. If we have to be in the video, you have to come around to our house and film us in bed.
And Tom, so you guys have toured the U.S. a number of times. What's it like for you? I mean, what's the thing that you like the most about the U.S. touring, or the thing that's the most quaint or charming or annoying, for that matter?
The thing I hate about it is it's such a big place, and so it's really, really been very, very difficult on this record, because. What I hate about it is the fact that the legacy of the previous one and so on, and the fact that we've just had to work insanely hard to even make any impact at all. But you know, that's life. I mean, at the moment, it wouldn't really matter where I was. Whether I could be, you know, in Iceland, anywhere. I just sort of want to be at home, actually, and that's it, you know. So what do I like about America? I like the fact I'm going home in 5 days.
You've been on tour with so many different bands over the course of the Bends. Just wanted to ask you really quick, who've been some of your favorite people to hang out with that you played with in other bands?
You know, I mean, REM, considering they're, you know, are my ultimate heroes.
And they're huge fans of yours too.
Yeah, it's this disgusting mutual appreciation society, which nobody else should see because it's really foul, you know. We did this gig in Seattle, and like they threw a party for us in the club that Stephanie, Peter Buck's wife, runs, and it was you know, it was really good. I mean, it's just so nice to sort of see them again, and you forget the fact that they're REM, and you'd be sitting there and you were talking to Peter Buck, and you're talking about whatever, you know, talking about they're making their album at the moment and things. You think, yeah, but your album's going to be completely huge, you know, you're going to be... And I'm sitting there going, yeah, it's really difficult to tune Rickenbackers or whatever it is, you know.
Thanks a lot, Tom, for being on the show.
As we've mentioned earlier, Radiohead's relationship with the music press has seen them veer between derision to almost unreserved adulation, which would presumably leave even the most hardened individuals somewhat wary. Having been effectively written off after the release of their debut album, Pablo Honey, the British music press in particular have distinctly changed their tune of late. How has this inconsistency left the band feeling? We asked bassist Colin Greenwood, although I would like to apologise in advance for the feeble quality of this recording.
Value Maker and Enemy are frighteningly irrelevant articles of fiction for the most part. Although, saying that, that's where I read my most the most interesting stuff written about music. But they have this. It seems that they're totally conscious of being the focus and the head of everything, and they're really not at all. Their opinion is of no consequence. So, it's very provincial. It's very I don't know. It's a lot simpler than anyone supposes. Really, But the main way we feel about it at the moment is it's if people want to talk to us, then we'll talk to them, because why not, but the pettiness and the fighting is things we experienced enough at school to not have to run around after these people and
do it all over again.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, we've kind of got to a state now where they're relevant, but they're irrelevant, and I'm quite happy to think of that we're strong enough to make these people relevant if they want to. To what we're doing now and to where we are, I think it's irrelevant to worry about them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And unless they start tearing us to pieces. But basically the word is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Although the music press has left Colin reasonably underwhelmed, the same cannot be said for the eye-opening experiences of his early college days.
College is great because college is where, I don't know. It depends what you're doing. I was doing an arts course, so you spend your entire time unlearning what you learned. That's what they seem to, you seem to be being trained to do that. I think the college I went to, it was like a combination of a finishing school for upper class idiots and one of the most exciting environments I've ever been in, because like when I walked into the art college for the first time, I was surrounded by people like me, and it's the first time I'd met sort of people who sort of except for these guys, basically, and there I was in an art college, and it was like a really buzzing environment, and it was just totally, it was there simply for people to work and express themselves, and it was the first time I'd experienced it on a, rather than just in bedrooms sort of with tape recorders or whatever. And I thought I discovered very quickly that it's very healthy to be surrounded by people like that, and you learn so much from other people. You cannot. Your best work is never done in isolation. The college, I was just lucky to go there, I think, really.
If Tom York's vocals are the centrepiece of Radiohead's music, then the foundation of their sound would have to be down to the multi-talented Jonny Greenwood. In an interview I read recently, Greenwood's contribution was listed as lead guitar, piano, organ, and other instruments, which would seem to suggest that his offerings were simply too innumerate to mention.
What's the ultimate thing you want to achieve in your life? Oh, I don't know. I'm not very good at the future, so
No?
good concert tonight. That's about all, really.
Is it just a day at a time?
Yeah, it's the next concert we play and the next song we write. The next good song we've written together, and that's what you concentrate on.
Yeah.
I think so.
And you never think, I wish when I was 80 I would have done this or done that, or...
No. I think this is English lunatic called G.K. Chesterton, who said once that everything in life should be tried once, except incest and country dancing. And I think he's right, so as long as I get to try everything once, I'll be happy. What is the moment that you are most happy? Oh, I think just achieving sleep. Just when you're closing your eyes and sleep hits you.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
What do you feel then? Well, happy, but you, when I start or try to imagine this moment, I don't think I feel anything.
Oh, but you do, don't you? It's when you stretch your legs out in bed and you're really tired. You can, that's pretty good, I think.
But do you also feel happy in relation to your work, to being in a band? Does that make you happy?
Yeah, but not for long.
Yeah.
Because there's always something new to worry about.
What sort of things do you worry about?
Oh, the next song's not going to be very good, or the next, I don't know, the concert won't be very good tonight, or will be good, I don't know, it's just stuff to be obsessed about.
Are you a born warrior?
Really, I just born sort of to not be satisfied very easily. Which records did your parents play when you were young? Very nearly none. I think the only one I can remember is we used to get these tapes of you could get these very cheap tapes of, this is in the late 70s, early 80s, of these groups that covered versions of famous musicals and things, like Grease. You could get the songs from Grease, but done by people you've never heard of, and I remember hearing that a lot. So lots of musicals, actually, My Fair Lady and The Mikado and stuff. We used to listen to the same thing over and over again, and we had a tape of Mozart horn concertos, and that was about it. There was about 6 sort of cassettes, and we had them all the time. I think it was good for me, because I ended up, it wasn't until I got musical instruments of my own, like a recorder, and I became more obsessed with that, because it felt like everything I was doing when it was new, because I hadn't heard much music. So maybe, I don't know, I might be wrong.
And how old were you when you got this?
5, 6.
Really?
And loved it. Still do, still play it a lot. Have you ever been obsessively in love with somebody? That sounds like a song lyric, song start. Have I ever been obsessively in love? I used to have a big crush on, when I was at school, a very big crush on lots of pop stars, like, I wanted to sort of meet, embarrassing really, Björk and, who else when I was at school? Sort of Björk and Kristen Hirsch and David Byrne as well. I wanted to meet him. I'm sure I was in love with him, but anyway.
And have you met those people now?
No.
Although Radiohead have become major players on the music scene, their humility, their humour and their honesty are still thankfully intact, with OK Computer still selling bucket loads all over the world, and the classic of their age firmly tucked up their sleeves in the shape of the Bends. The future for the band seems assured. However, as Colin Greenwood points out, there is still no room for complacency, and even at the height of their popularity, the band still share some concerns.
The only thing I'm scared of is that we might end up, I think there's a point in every band's career, you either go one way or the other. You either do what you think people want you to do, or you turn in on each other and do what you want to do. I mean, and I don't know. It seems that we have this little world that we've created now, and it's actually a strong enough environment in which to carry on working, and so we're all a lot more positive about what we're doing, because what success or failure or the little bits in between are sort of not irrelevant, but not relevant necessarily, because I don't know. We found a renewed confidence in what we're doing, so therefore success or failure is secondary to that, which is great. You know, we're not worried about is this record going to sell bucket loads and we'll be able to do the next one or not, because success. Well, I don't know what's success. Yeah, I think we've been pretty much as successful as we want to be anyway.
And I'm afraid that's all we have time for this evening. I would like to thank Radiohead for their contribution tonight, a group whose success I'm certain will continue for a long while. So don't forget to join me, Max Asanovic, same time, same place next week, for another edition of Late Night Interview. Good night.